Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to reflect on Dominic Cummings' latest statements about the Brexit process that he oversaw, as he makes a breathtaking admission that the whole thing was just a con, and you know what, we should just get over it. Get over yourself. Yeah, I conned you, never mind. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. Oh, he's a rascal, isn't he, old Dominic Cummings? So basically, we had another Twitter storm. Boris Johnson's former indispensable advisor, before he was dispensed with, has said that the government deliberately got whatever deal they needed in order to beat the political opposition, with the deliberate intention of dropping the parts of it they didn't like later. This is the first time, I think I'm right in saying this, I think this is the first time someone at the heart of the Brexit project in Boris Johnson's government has openly, publicly admitted to having deliberately acted in bad faith. Not that the admission is a surprise as such, it's not news. You know, we'd already come to the conclusion that Johnson has been acting in bad faith. I've mentioned in the past, you know, that I listened to Steve Baker last year. He's a very influential Brexiteer in the Tory party. He said that his ERG group only backed the withdrawal agreement, which includes the Northern Ireland Protocol, because Boris Johnson had assured them that he would renege on it later. Of course, you know, I was taking two things for granted there by placing emphasis on such a statement. One, that Baker was telling the truth about an unverifiable meeting with the Prime Minister, but events since then have certainly added credence to the notion. And secondly, that even if Johnson did tell the ERG that he would renege, we still had to assume that Johnson was trying to play the EU and not the Brexiteers within his own party. Like, he was claiming to have lied to the EU. Well, how do you know he's not lying to you? Obviously, the way things have played out since, we can see that Johnson absolutely intended to renege. His government have failed to implement the very clear provisions within the withdrawal agreement that would actually have made the whole thing run a lot smoother. Johnson and his ministers have tried to claim that they didn't understand the agreement. In fact, in this Twitter thread, Dominic Cummings claims that Boris Johnson didn't even know what a customs union was until last year. Maybe true. But, you know, the idea of not being able to claim they didn't understand the agreement was absolute tosh. It was widely reported in the media what the consequences would be. The government are also trying to claim that they had to accept the agreement because they were in such a weak position. Again, nonsense. When Boris Johnson pushed the withdrawal agreement through Parliament, he had an 80-seat majority of MPs, 100% of whom had publicly backed the agreement as a great deal for Britain. Because if they didn't, they weren't allowed to stand as a Conservative MP. So 100% of the Conservative MPs right now backed that agreement publicly. In addition, Johnson changed quite a lot of the parts of the withdrawal agreement bill that went through Parliament after the election. The idea that he was forced to accept this deal is a nonsense. He had complete control over the negotiations, over the wording, and over the implementation. Johnson was made Prime Minister specifically to get the UK out of the EU. Now, I've said before, if Parliament had not been stupid enough to allow him that general election on his terms, he would have been long gone by now. Events have proven that Johnson was always acting in bad faith. Something I saw former Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar recently scorning. You know, he famously met with Johnson to try and get something over the line in 2019. And this admission of bad faith from Cummings is extraordinary, really. Not because it gives us new information, but that it is a clear admission of what we now know. And no one can deny it now. Because this is all Cummings seems to want to do now. After last summer, when we thought he might drop a load of political bombshells to ruin the man who spurned him, all he's really done is admit to a load of stuff we already knew, and in some of the things he's not even providing the evidence. You know, Cummings also acknowledged that this was illegal, but he justified it by saying that states break the laws all the time. Yeah, in many ways, yes. But, and this is a big but, they don't blatantly break agreements with powerful countries, do they? International politics and economics is absolutely dog eat dog, yes. For all the show of international laws and standards of behaviour and the UN and all that, might still makes right. This is not Darth Vader changing the deal with Lando Calrissian and telling him to pray that he doesn't change it further. The EU only has to take as much of this crap as it wants to. But I can talk more about that in another video perhaps. The point is that we are not in a position to break an agreement with the EU and expect the EU to do nothing about it in return. even though they may not do anything immediately. Because another theme that runs through Cummings' rant is when he thinks he's tackling objections such as morality, where he doesn't have an argument, he just claims people are behaving like low-grade politics students. Always a sign of failure in a debate or an argument if you cannot argue against the points made and you simply try to dismiss them. They're beneath me. I'm not even going to respond to that. It's just immature, unsophisticated. All you're really doing is saying, I can't argue against this. You can still claim a point of view is naive if you want, but you still have to explain why. What you don't get to do is to simply dismiss it without rebuttal if you wish to be taken seriously. When he talks about the US, EU and China breaking rules to suit them, it's not like he's on fancy ground. They absolutely do. Like I say, but the winners know how to pick their battles. Remember Donald Trump tried to start a trade war with both the EU and China in his time. Ended badly for him on both occasions. He tried to break the rules against a strong opponent without a strategy. That's why he lost. I don't know if he thought that the US was just so much more powerful he didn't need a plan. Like you wouldn't need much of a plan to invade a town with nothing better than spearmen defending it if you've got automatic weapons, mortars, tanks and airstrikes. But the US, China and the EU all have fairly impressive economic muscle. Now, unlike Trump, who got properly mullered, I actually think Johnson does have a plan. He is banking on the notion that the EU will not retaliate too hard. The EU will, of course, act to damage the British economy in whatever action it takes, not out of spite, but just out of compensation. It needs to compensate to the harm to their own market. But Johnson is fine with that. See, too many people seem to think that Johnson can't get into a trade war with the EU because he can't win. The UK can't win, but Johnson can. Brexit is already doing massive economic damage to us, but Johnson and his Brexit project are still intact. If the trade war only inflicts a level of economic damage that he can afford politically, he won't care. Like, for people assuming that the EU will fight back hard with everything they've got, I think you may be ignoring the way that they've behaved up until now. Right throughout this process, the EU have acted to avoid raising tensions. Consider that even though we are now threatening to suspend the protocol, and the EU even believe that we are about to do that, as far as I know, as the time I'm recording this, they still haven't even restarted that legal challenge to us from earlier in the year. They paused it, remember. Why? It's still paused right now. They seem to be working on the assumption that it's like Boris Johnson just wants this Brexit that he can sell as a victory. To that end, they've been happy for him to claim victories even when they've been defeats. He gave the EU way more money than May's deal would have. He agreed to conditions that are massively in favour of the EU. The EU got everything they needed from both Brexit deals, so they didn't mind Johnson selling it as a win. They were fine with that. But the thing is, they only got what they needed from these deals if those deals are honoured. Johnson is not honouring them. The EU have just announced a new raft of measures, very generous measures. I really didn't see that coming, in order to take the sting out of the Northern Ireland Protocol. But Johnson is still rejecting it. And they should have known he was going to reject it. He has failed to implement things that would have made it run more smoothly. That means he doesn't want it to run smoothly. Make no mistake, he does not want the protocol. He wants it gone. Or more specifically, the people who made him leader want it gone. He purged his own party of the moderates who could have pushed back against this. He is now entirely surrounded by those who insist on the hard Brexit and have no morality about dropping parts of an international agreement freely entered into if they don't like it. Oh, sure, Theresa May might stand up and moan in Parliament, but she'll do nothing about it. No, nor will the rest. The current Tory party is the lowest bunch of cutthroats to have inhabited Parliament in my lifetime, I reckon. The word itself, Tory, means brigand. They openly call themselves this. This isn't a nickname used by their political opponents. They call themselves it. Robbers and thieves, that's what they are. What on earth do people expect of such a party that will name itself after highwaymen? But the EU seem to think that they just need to offer just enough and then Johnson will be happy and it will all calm down. He will never be happy until the entire protocol is dismantled. And no point asking him what he intends to do about the customs border. He doesn't care. That was the argument before. When it's like, we can't put the customs border in the Irish Sea. Well, where do you think it should go? He doesn't care. He hasn't even installed the customs border with France. Doesn't care about the one with Ireland. He hasn't installed any customs borders in any part of the UK apart from the one in the Irish Sea. There are no customs border around Britain with any EU country. Not one. And if you want to understand what we're dealing with here when it comes to this Brexit government we have, take a look at the Dominic Cummings thread. I'll link it below. Read it. Don't read it as the ramblings of a random Brexiteer howling at the moon. There's plenty of those. Plenty of those. Read this and remember, this is the guy who decided our entire Brexit strategy from the moment Boris Johnson became Prime Minister until the end of last summer. Then you may see that there is no reasoning with this government. Cummings may be gone, but that thinking is still there in Boris Johnson and David Frost. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.